Good morning, first grade, and welcome back to Bible. Today's story is entitled Naomi's Family, and today we're going to learn as Ruth helped and respected her mother-in-law, so we please God when we love and respect our parents. And today's memory verse is taken from Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. Ruth said, "Every place you go, I will go. Every place you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God." The women of Bethlehem were in a stir. "It's Naomi," cried one woman to another. "No, it's not. It doesn't even look like her," another said. "But it's been years. Isn't that you, Naomi?" The gray-haired woman's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she said, "I'm Naomi. But you shouldn't call me Naomi anymore. Naomi means pleasant and cheerful. I don't feel very pleasant or cheerful. I feel bitter and sad. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. You might as well call me Mara," which means bitter. Her old friends crowded around her. "Oh, Naomi, we're so glad to see you after all these years. Tell us what has made you so sad, and who is that with you?" Talking and chatting, they led both women to someone's house, offered them a place to sit, and gave them something to drink. There, now tell us all about it." Naomi sighed. "Oh, well, you remember how my husband Elimelech and I took our boys, Mahlon and Chilion, to Moab? That was during the worst of the famine, years ago, when there was nothing to eat, nothing to drink. Awful things happened to us there. First of all," Naomi paused, "Elimelech died. It was terrible. I miss him so very much, and now what was I to do? Alone in a strange land with 2 boys to raise all by myself? I did the best I could. When they grew up, they married Moabite girls. One was named Orpah, and the other was Ruth." The smile came back to Naomi's face. She laid her hand on the arm of the quiet young woman by her side. "This is Ruth. When you get to know her, you will love her as much as I do. At first I was worried," Naomi glanced apologetically at Ruth, "because my sons married Moabite girls. Of course, we did not allow any idols in our home, and instead insisted that the 2 girls follow our customs. I gave love to both the girls as if they were my own daughters. I always wished I had a daughter of my own. Now I had 2. And then the tragedy came. Both of my sons died." Naomi stopped suddenly and pressed a hand to her mouth. Both of her sons dying? She clenched her jaw and held her breath. But the tears came anyway. The women murmured. They couldn't get over this news. "Anyway, after the mourning time was over, I decided it was time to leave Moab. I heard that the famine was over here in Israel, and I wanted to come home." "To hear you say the word home," one of the women said, "it sounds like heaven." "We're so glad you're back, Naomi. We've missed you, and we're not going to call you Mara, which means bitter, anymore. God will make you happy again. You will see. You will see." "But that's not all the story," Naomi said. "When I left my home in Moab, both Orpah and Ruth came with me. When we got to the place of the road where I would turn for Bethlehem, I stopped. 'I've been thinking,' I said to the girls, 'you're still young enough to marry again. I don't know if you can find a husband in my own country. Why don't you go back to your own mothers where you come from?' Well, they wouldn't hear of it. They both insisted that they wanted to come with me." Ruth was very courteous and had been taught never to interrupt her elders, but she interrupted now. "We wanted to stay with you because you are the sweetest mother a person could have, and besides, I've grown to love your God too." Naomi smiled and patted Ruth's hand. "I still tried to talk them into going back to their mothers. I told them our custom that if a man dies without leaving any children, his brother will marry the widow, and the first child they have counts as belonging to the one who died and inherits the property. But I don't have any more sons, and even if I had some now, Ruth and Orpah couldn't very well wait around for babies to grow up and then marry them." Orpah was convinced. Reluctantly, she turned back to her mother's home. "I pray she will find another husband and be happy. As for Ruth, well, she would not go. I never will forget what she said to me. 'Don't ask me to leave you. Don't beg me not to follow you. Every place you go, I will go. Every place you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. And where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. I ask the Lord to punish me terribly if I do not keep this promise. Only death will separate us.'" Naomi looked away from Ruth's red cheeks and smiled at the circle of women. "So I brought her here with me." Naomi and Ruth arrived in the town early in the spring, and it was time for the barley harvest. They had a place to live, but not much else. We have to live somehow, Mother Ruth said. Let me go and glean the fields of some kind man. Naomi agreed. So Ruth went out to work. Gleaning was hard work. The reapers cut the grain with sickles and bundled it into sheaves, but they always missed some or dropped a little. Poor people could go along behind the reapers, finding and gathering those little bits. Ruth saw a field where everything seemed to be going smoothly, and the people seemed pleasant. She went up to the overseer of the field and asked politely, "May I please glean after your reapers?" The man seemed to know who she was. Ruth thought the way Naomi had been talking, probably the whole town knew who she was. He said she could glean, and she worked hard all morning long. It took a long time to gather even a little grain. How her back was aching by noon. Then a strange thing happened. The owner of the field himself came right over to her. Ruth bowed low and asked the man why he was so kind to notice her. Boaz answered, "I know all about the help you have given to Naomi, your mother-in-law. You helped her even after her husband died. You left your father and mother and your own country to come to this nation where you did not know anyone. The Lord will reward you for all you've done. You will be paid in full by the Lord, the God of Israel. You have come to him as a little bird finds shelter under the wings of its mother." Then Ruth said, "You are very kind to me, sir. You have said kind words to me, your servant. You have given me hope, and I am not even good enough to be one of your servants." At mealtime, Boaz told Ruth, "Come here, eat some of our bread. Here, dip your bread in our vinegar." So Ruth sat down with the workers. Boaz gave her some roasted grain. Ruth ate until she was full, and there was some food left over. Ruth rose and went back to work. Then Boaz told his servants, "Let her gather around the bundles of grain. Don't tell her to go away. Drop some full heads of grain for her. Let her gather that grain, and don't tell her to stop." After lunch, it seemed to Ruth that the reapers dropped more grain than before. Ruth wondered if they were getting tired and careless. She was able to separate a whole bunch of barley from the grain she picked up. Ruth had also saved some of the bread and parched grain from lunch to give Naomi at home. "Look, Mother," she said, "look." "Oh my, you have done well. And whose field did you glean?" Naomi asked. "It was a man named Boaz." Ruth told her mother-in-law all the strange things that had happened that day. Naomi smiled. "Boaz? Why, he's a relative of my husband. God bless him for his kindness. You stay in that field and do just what he tells you." Naomi was so glad to be home in Israel. Already God was taking some of the sadness and giving her happiness instead. So she no longer needed to be called Mara, which meant bitter. And our memory verse today again is taken from Ruth chapter 1, verse 6. Ruth said, "Every place you go, I will go. Every place you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God."